Special Teams Coordinator, Ricky Brumfield. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions for Coach Brumfield.
I was just curious, you're getting to work with the safeties as well. Kind of how do you split your time in practice? How does that sort of work with the way y'all have it set up?
Yeah, I'm working with the DB. So the way we have it set up is I'm Coach Tillman's assistant. You know what I mean? So whatever Coach Till needs, I help him out with. Whether it's drills, just extra throwing the ball. You know what I mean? Just extra eyes, whatever it is. Just I'm his assistant. So whenever we do special teams, obviously, we handle special teams, and then once we move on from there, my focus goes on to defense. And our specialists do a good job of kind of working. They have a regimen, they have a plan of what they're supposed to be doing. They work on that, and they kind of do that on their own to the side. I make sure that's managed and taken care of, and during that time, I help with the DBs. So.
It looked like you had some good competition in the spring with the place kickers. How has that progressed, and where are they now?
Yeah, Aiden is healthy now, and he's doing a really good job with field goals as well as kickoffs, and Gavin is doing a really good job as well. And so they're kind of just going back at it right now. Tit for tat. We really truly just started doing a lot of team field goals, and so we've just been kind of charting the numbers with the individual field goals that they've been doing, just the snapper, holder, and kicker. But today, I believe, is like our second, third day doing team field goals. And so that's going to kind of come into it because now we have a rush and we have that pressure, people rushing through, and you have bodies flying in front of you. And so right now, it's a really good competition. Some of the young guys are doing a good job, and they're going to be stepping up as well.
Who do you like returning kicks right now?
Everybody.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Like, honestly, it depends. When you look at the players we have, you got Malik, who's really fast and can make plays. Christian Leary's been doing a good job. My man Eric Singleton has some good speed. And obviously, we got to get him back there. Right now it's kind of up in the air. We got a lot of young guys. We really do. We got Tay Seymour back there. We got Dom catching punts. We got DJ catching punts. And so right now it's just a lot of guys catching, and we're just getting those numbers to see who's going to be the most consistent. So, you're looking at punts, those are the guys I'm talking about, and kickoff return. You got Tay and Singleton and all of those guys. So right now we haven't narrowed it down to who's our top even two. We're looking at punt return with, like I said, Malik and DJ and Dom, and even Rodney Shelley's back there catching some punts. And then kick return, we got a lot of young guys with Eric Singleton, Tay, and then all of those guys as well. So.
I was just curious, you brought in some walk-ons to help. You were a little thin in terms of just bodies with specials. How much has that helped just in camp, having another long snapper and another punter and the things you didn't have in the spring? Yeah,
it helps because especially once we start getting into the season, those guys are competing to play. When you look at Ryan and Joseph and Josh and Logan, those guys are competing to play for snapper, holder, kicker, punter. But once we get to the season, the ones that aren't playing, now we can take a load off of the starters. And so let's say Tuesday we have a practice and we're working punt and kickoff. You know what I mean? We got our starting punter and kickoff guy going down, kicking the ball, and punting the ball. And then Wednesday, if we're working punt return, kick return, now we got the other guys that are kicking the ball off to our return teams. And so having those guys here takes a load off of the starters. And so they're coming in competing. So, competition brings the best out of everybody. And now they're competing, and then on the other end, they're also kind of able to rest their legs too.
In the spring, we talked a little bit about, maybe whether you'd like to use one guy for all phases of the place kicking game or maybe split it up. Have you seen anything to maybe decide how that's going to go?
Right now, when you're looking at it, I would obviously want different guys doing different things. I think when you spread the wealth, you have a lot of guys doing different things, and they tend to buy in a lot more. They have a role for the team. And so if we had one guy doing kickoffs, he has a role for the team. One doing field goal, he has a role. Aiden has been doing really good with kickoffs, really good. Gavin has been doing really good with field goals, and David's been doing really good with punting. And Henry has been doing a great job snapping the ball. Those guys have been here. They have experience. They played. And so with that and those experience, have an opportunity to have multiple guys play different roles, I think it'll benefit us. So from the spring, I still have that same feeling.
Anything else?
Obviously, the punting was sort of fascinating when you go back and watch from last year. You had the blocks early and then overcorrecting, and that led to some punt returns for touchdowns. Just kind of I imagine when you kind of the tape, it's like, wow, a little bit of a wow moment for you watching it. Just kind of how do you feel like you guys have progressed in trying to find that middle ground of giving David or whoever's punting an opportunity to get it off and also covering well?
Yeah, Coach Key always talks about, we got to learn from the past, but we got to prepare for the future. And so, we don't harp on last year. I wasn't here. A lot of players weren't here. A lot of coaches weren't here. And so, I watched the tape to see the mistakes and why it happened, and how I can help David prepare for that not to happen in the future. And so we just kind of moved on to see what happened and the problems that arose from the issues that they had last year with punt, and learn from the past, prepare for the future. And, I told them, it's 2023. And so whatever happened last year, man, we just got to learn from it and move on. So I don't care if it was good, bad. I mean, it could have been the #1 punt team in the country. We have to learn from what we did well, what we did wrong, and prepare for what we're going to do in the future. And I think we progressed, fairly well. The guys have been buying into the system that we're running. They've been kind of working on their craft. David's been punting really, really well, booming the ball. He's been doing a great job. And so, I think that's kind of in the past. That's in our rear view, and we got to look out that front window and move on. And I believe they have. And I think we're going to be pretty good.
Yeah, speaking about watching the tape, and David, he obviously has a strong leg. Did you notice anything in his steps or his mechanics or anything that you wanted to maybe take a look at before you started?
Yeah, I always want to, you don't ever want a 3-step punter, so we always want to try to get it to where it's 2 steps. You always want your get off time at 2 seconds. And so we worked with him as far as getting consistent with our get off time and our hang time. Because if you have a fast get off time and a low hang time, that's a recipe for disaster. And so, we want to make sure that our get off time is fast, not too fast, but it's fast. But we also work on our hang time. And so, that's really the 3 parts, his steps, 2 steps, the get off time, and the hang time. And he's done a really good job. We talked about the things he needed to improve on. He actually knew the things he needed to improve on as well. That's going to make him a better punter. And he's been doing a pretty good job. And so, when we look at him and the I don't want to say issues, but the things that he does, we wanted him to be more consistent in just being a 2-step punter and having that good get-off time, which he's done. He's done a pretty good job.
Anything else?
In your career, you've coached both sides of the ball and obviously been a very successful special teams coach. Just how do you approach when you have, maybe you're helping the defense and that could even change year to year? How do you approach that as a coach? It's
funny because when I'm on defense, I hate the offense. And when I coach offense, I hate the defense. So, you have to kind of switch up that mindset. I approach it by just really listening to what, Coach Stack and what we teach on defense, and I try to implement that within special teams. And I try to, same thing with offense, you know what I mean? Hey, what we're doing is just like what you guys don't do on offense, this call. This is how you block 20, right? This is what we're doing on this play for our special teams. It's like blocking 20. Same thing with defense. If you got a nub side, you're in that nag position, you're in the C7, whatever it is. I try to take what we do defensively or offensively and put it into terms for our special teams so that they're hearing the same thing. I don't ever want them to hear 2 different things, and working on defense, I'm hearing all of the defensive terminology and on that defensive mindset. And so I basically just kind of bring that on to the special teams part. And when I was on offense, I did the same thing when I was on offense. I kind of brought the offensive philosophy, how they teach, how they block, all of those things, and bring it on to special teams so that they kind of hearing, just one thing and not 2 different things.
Anything else? Coach, thank you.
Good.
Appreciate you.
Easy.
Oh, yeah. You got it? Okay.
TJ is probably happier.
Carly, I'm going to need you to cut all this out. Yeah. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and get started with tight end Dylan Leonard. Open round for questions. Ron,
This is your last preseason camp, what thoughts are going through your head, and have you set any goals for yourself for this final season?
It's definitely a little bittersweet. Camp's always a tough time of the year, just physically and mentally being able to push through, but it also, it's sad for me considering, I've been here for now. This is my 5th year, and it's been my last time, where I'm able to be around my boys 24/7, and it sucks for sure that part's coming to an end. But we obviously got a full season ahead of us, so I'm excited for that. As far as goals for myself, first of all, I want to be all ACC this year. That's one of the big goals that I've had for myself. And the biggest goal, just for the team in general, is I just want to win. At the end of the day, I don't really care much about my accolades as long as we win. I've been here for 4 years now, and we haven't done that to the level that we want to. So I would say the biggest thing is strictly just winning. And I think Keys drove that home a lot, that winning is the goal and the only goal, and that's the only thing that matters. So that's what we're focused on, and that's what we're going to do.
I guess how different is it in terms of physicality of camp? And you guys are obviously going in the afternoon, which is a little more brutal in terms of the heat, but just is it different maybe physically from a year ago?
Definitely, yeah. The heat is another thing. We're practicing 100-degree weather, which is its own beast. But as far as physically, I would say it's similar as far as how much we hit. We went a little bit of live periods today, which is the first time we've been live this camp. So we're incorporating that. We're going to have 100-something play scrimmage on Saturday. But I would say as far as just physically, I can't say whether it is more or not, but practice-wise, similar schedule. Camp's camp, it's every camp's physical, so I would say it's about the same.
Hey, Dylan, kind of piggybacking off Rod's question. You've been here so long.
Yeah.
Another camp.
Yeah.
Does it get any easier? Does it get more fun? Are you ready to be done with it? What's this last camp like?
I wouldn't say it gets easier. I would say you just get tougher. At the end of the day, that's what tech does to you. It just makes you a tougher human being. Off the field and on the field. I had a parent ask me, like, with school, does it get easier as you go? And I was like, no, it doesn't get easier. You just get tougher, and you get, and that's when these young kids come in here. They may struggle at first, but this builds you into a beast of a human being. This place, so I would say that for sure.
When you look at the wide receiver position, you got a lot of new guys, a lot of speed there, and then Coach Faulkner's going to fit you guys in, move you around, How does that help you knowing that you're going to have to concentrate a lot on those guys?
But you mean like concentrate a lot on those receivers?
On the receivers,
yeah. For sure. We've had some, good talent come in with Dom and, Chase and a couple other guys. So we got some great talent, but, it's going to open it up for us as well. You got a lot of threats out there. They got to worry about a lot of people on the field. So I look at that as an advantage. And Zach and Haynes and Zach have been doing a great job distributing it all across the field, giving it to everybody. That's what they want to do, and we try to be their best friend as a tight end. So hopefully coming into the season we can be that for them.
Talking to Coach Faulkner, it seems like he's not married to personnel and lineups, and will line you guys up anywhere. We saw that in the spring game. Do you like that a little bit more, that's being creative with how they use you guys, and that he's cool with having 12, 13 personnel sometimes, really giving you guys an opportunity to have a diverse role in the offense versus all the talk about it the last few years and not really seeing it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, there's been talk about, want to get us incorporated. The past years we haven't, been as incorporated as I wanted to be, or that kind of we expected. But, he definitely uses us in some unique ways. I would say, he has us all over the field. It gives us more opportunities to make plays one-on-one and stuff like that. So I'm definitely excited for it. I think it comes down a lot to, QBs too. The relationship you have with QBs, it's not all about the scheme. It's, how much does it QB who's throwing you the ball trusts you and how much do they look for you. So outside of, his playing call, and how good of a relationship do we have with, the Zachs and Haynes to be able to capitalize on that as well, which I think, we have a great relationship. So I think that'll play huge. Because if you look last half of the season, tight ends got a lot more balls last half of the season too, so I think that plays a lot to our relationship with the current QBs.
Time for a couple more for Dylan. Over here, Evelyn.
Speaking of the quarterbacks, can you compare them for me, Pyron?
Yeah.
I know you're smiling right now. You're like, no, I don't want this question. I would like for you to tell me how they're different, King, Pyron, and Gibson. I mean, there has to be. You're catching passes from all of them, so there has to be a difference.
Yeah. Obviously, I get that question a lot, not only from y'all, but people back home and my dad and friends, and it is a very tough question. I truly, honestly, I don't know. Like everybody's like, well, who would you, if you had to say, who'd you, like, I don't know. It really is, a battle by the skin of your teeth. Like, it's going to be interesting to see who wins that position. As far as comparing them, I would say, between Pyron and Haynes, I think they're very similar mentally. They're both, emotional players, very scrappy players. Both players that, just love the game of football, as well as Zach, and they can get out of the pocket and run. As far as comparing, to me, they're very similar quarterbacks in how they play. I respect both their game a lot. And I'm just excited to see who wins that position as y'all are, because I truly don't know. They're both great quarterbacks, and whoever we're riding with, I'm riding with them. So I'm looking forward to seeing who wins that.
Anything else? All right, Dylan, thanks.
Awesome,
Mike.
thanks.
Appreciate you. You can take that one. Good card. Okay. We'll go ahead and get started with Gavin Stewart, Kinker. Start here with Gavin.
I guess just how different are things, maybe the way you're practicing this camp versus before with Coach Brumfield, and just kind of his mentality and how he approaches special teams?
Yeah, so it's a lot different approach from what we've seen in the past, and it's been awesome for the guys, like more engaging. Schematically, it's completely changed, so we'll see a lot of that implemented throughout the season. As far as just like the kicking standpoint, it's kind of been the same. A kicker's job's pretty basic, simple, full operation. So me, Henry, and David working all the time just to perfect that operation. So when it comes game day, everything is down to a T, and go out there and do our jobs. But as far as changing, mostly, there's not much that really changes as far as what I do, just because it's the same thing, kicking sets before practice, kicking live field goal, and doing like end of game situations or end of half situations. So all that's kind of stayed the same.
Rob?
When you look at what you had to do last year, you were kicking field goals, extra points. What kind of stress does that put on your leg, and do you think it would be easier for you if you weren't doing the kickoffs, maybe just concentrating on field goals and extra points?
Yeah, so as far as kickoffs, definitely kickoffs have the most wear and tear on your body, just because it's such like a violent motion coming through the ball every time. And field goal is typically you stay between 80-85% on leg swing, just so you're as consistent as possible. As far as just kind of wear and tear, it's kind of, I like doing kickoffs just because 4 games kind of gets the game day nerves out of you. You go out there, hit the kickoff, kick a touchback, you're like, all right, it's game time, it's ready to go. That's really about it. Yeah, kickoffs are fun too. You get to go out there and swing at it hard as you can. But yeah.
John? No? Good. Kelly?
I was just curious, have you been kind of lobbying? You were obviously a versatile player in high school and can catch the ball and run. And have you been lobbying for some trick plays, things like that, to show off your versatility, that you're more than just a traditional kicker?
Always. That's every kicker's dream. At the end of the day, they always want to get a chance to get the ball in their hands and somehow score a touchdown. But end of the day, my job's pretty simple. Just go out on the field. Like I said, Henry and David, we go out there, get the extra 3 points, extra 1 point, and it's plain and simple. If that day ever arises, I'll be a happy human being, but it doesn't matter if that happens, though. At the end of the day, you got to do what's best for the team.
You have a special teams coach this year with Coach Brumfield. With him concentrating, specifically on special teams, how has that been for your group, and what has it changed, if anything?
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like I was kind of saying earlier, as far as what we do is pretty similar, but as far as like schematically, like whether it's like certain like detailed drills, like today they were doing like blocking punts. So that was like we had a whole period set towards that. So it's more or less getting very nitpicky as far as what we're doing for special teams in general, like the punt return, kickoff, kick return. I mean, every day we have 2 special teams meeting, which are dedicated towards just how do we get better and better every single day on every part of special teams. So not necessarily for our part, but for all the other great players we have on our team, that we have to have them. Like specialists, we can't do it by ourselves. Like it's the whole team together. So, yeah.
Anything else for Gavin? Okay. Gavin, thanks, buddy. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
So we have punter David Shanahan. We'll go ahead and open it right up for questions for David. Kelly.
What are maybe some ways that Coach Brumfield's like helped you in terms of, and he's talking about two-step punting, things like that, just to get the ball out, consistency, those things that are maybe different?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, I won't say our scheme is simple, but we don't overcomplicate the kicks. You know, a lot of it is, you know, we're just going down the hash, or rugby. So a lot of it's just been, you know, simplifying everything, bringing it back to basics. And then, you know, he has a certain op time, and he just wants to be under that every single time. So when we're practicing throughout summer, throughout the off season, it's just a lot easier to get into the rhythm when you know exactly what you're going to be doing and exactly what the time needs to be. So that's been really good. That's been really helpful. Just preparing for the season moving forward. You know, today we had our first live punt with the live rush. That's always strange, but you know, it felt fine because you know we knew what kicks we were going to be doing. We knew the op time needed to be, and we've been doing that all off season. So that's been a really good aspect of it.
Chad, sorry, I'll get you next round.
You got to go to Ireland a couple weeks ago, right?
Yes.
What was that trip like?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So we're down in the southwest for a lot of it. That's where I'm from. We got to have mom cook lunch for everyone on the Monday. So that was fun. I didn't think I'd ever be having 5 Georgia Tech football players in my kitchen, and Semet, of course, and all the media guys. So that was really fun. We got to go to the 4th of July St. Patrick's Day parade in Killarney, which is like a town 20 minutes from my house. They pretty much tried to hit every single American stereotype they could. They had cowboys and they had hot dogs. They had the whole lot. So it was a lot of fun.
What did your mom cook?
She cooked beef and rice and some chicken. She kept it pretty simple. She could try to cater for every palate, but it was. There was a lot of questions, what do people eat? What are they interested in? She tried to make it as American as she could, so it was good.
What were your teammates' reactions to the country and, everything that you showed them?
Yeah, they loved it. I think a lot of it was, like Lamal is obviously from Florida, KJ's from around here, so I think they were surprised that there's cows everywhere and there's fields everywhere, because I'm out in basically the blatant countryside. We're probably 3.5 hours southwest of Dublin. Then they got to see my school. My school is basically my high school. It's basically just a big house. There's 100 guys went there. There's fireplaces in the classroom. It's a really old building. So comparing that school to an Atlanta public school is a pretty big difference. So I think the whole cultural aspect of it was probably the biggest thing, which they really enjoyed.
I guess just kind of how different is practice now with the way you guys are doing things versus before?
Yeah, I would say for us as specialists, we're still out there probably an hour before everyone else. That's when we got our reps in. And then we'll have our field goal period or punt period or kickoff period, whatever. I would say it's probably a lot more, there's probably a higher expectation on us. We're probably held accountable a little bit more. And part of that is we meet twice a day for special teams for 20 minutes. So, if you shank a punt or miss a field goal, it's going to be in the meeting. It's going to be in front of everyone. So it's probably a higher level of accountability, which is good. It raises everyone's standard. So I'd say that's probably the biggest difference for us as specialists.
More questions? God.
You didn't really have any help last year in terms of just a backup punter. They brought in some guys to kind of help compete and some walk-on guys. Has that been helpful to maybe split the load a little bit? That coach was talking about how maybe in practice you won't have to do scout team punting or things you had to do in the past. in the season. Has that helped a little bit to have some other guys to work with?
Yeah, I know for sure. Josh and Logan have come in. They're both really, really nice kids. I think they're just still, I think as a freshman, especially as a specialist, everything comes at you really fast. But that's been great. You know, like punting to returners, I get a lot less reps on my leg. Instead of just me kicking all the reps, we get to divide it by 3. And then just having more guys, like more eyes on you, like, hey, I think you dropped it a little bit weird in this, or your step got long. So it's always good to have more guys in the room. So that's been good.
Anything else for David? Okay, David, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Gavin, thanks again, man. Well done.